Good day, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rudy Page, and I'm really pleased today. Our guest is Richard REDDIE. He's the Director of Justice and Inclusion at CTBI. Richard, welcome.
Well, yes, good evening. Great to be here. Great to join you, Rudy. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you very much. So this is another one of our dialogues in the current series under the Windrush Anchor Heritage Programme. This is a unique community-focused initiative that showcases a life-size replica of the actual vessel's anchor to celebrate the Caribbean Commonwealth community's cultural heritage and contributions to the United Kingdom. This programme is rooted in the values of respect, inclusion and belonging, and aims to inspire peaceful, caring and enterprising neighbourhoods and local communities. Through a range of activities and events, the programme seeks to engage wider communities in the Windrush heritage and develop innovative educational approaches to raising cultural esteem. The key milestones are community empowerment, creative murals, cultural heritage learning, digital dialogues and images, heritage and legacy exhibitions and festivals, intergenerational storytelling. The Windrush Anchor Heritage Programme represents hope, strength and belonging, and aligns with 2030 national development plans and promotes a sense of cultural pride and unity amongst Caribbean Commonwealth communities. Richard, so glad that you can make it today.
Yeah, really good, as I said, to be here. I know there's some excellent values that you have there when it comes to, this Windrush related work.
Thank you. So, Richard, before we start our dialogue, tell us a bit about yourself and your family background.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Richard REDDIE. So I was actually born in Bradford in West Yorkshire. I now live in London, live in southwest London, but my parents are from Jamaica. My mum sadly is deceased now, but she came over to this country in 1957, and my father came a couple of years later in 1959, and they met in that wonderful city of Bradford, and then got married. And as a result, myself and my three other siblings were born, but always grew up knowing that we were part of the Windrush experience. My mum in particular often spoke warmly and frequently about the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica, where she was from. She was from born in Portland in the east of the island, and she would always tell me about what Britain was like when she arrived in 1957. She arrived in January 1957, and would say, how it took quite a while to really get used to life in Britain. But she spoke about the risk that she experienced at that time, which, it's one of those situations where, those kinds of memories stay with you. You don't forget them too easily. So that was always a part of my upbringing, that sense of she was a part of that Windrush generation. And as well my relatives, both on my mum's side and my dad's side as well. And I also had relatives living in London again, who were a part of that Windrush experience. So, coming up to the anniversary, which, obviously we're going to talk about in a minute, this isn't something that doesn't resonate with me. It clearly does. It's good that we recognize and celebrate the contributions of those, I call them titans really, who made Britain what it is today.
Thanks for that. So can you tell us a bit about CITB's role within the whole Windrush celebrations, and of course what it means to you, which you've touched on both personally, professionally, and spiritually?
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Justice and Inclusion for Churches Together in Britain and Ireland, CTBI for short. And Churches Together in Britain and Ireland is an ecumenical Christian organization. And one of the things we try and do is to encourage Christians and churches in particular to work together, to encourage Christian unity, particularly on those issues of common concern. And my work is to take forward issues connected to justice, particularly racial justice. So you think of issues pertaining to inequality, the kind of, a lack of dignity, a lack of respect. How can the churches be prophetic on issues such as racial justice, not only in terms of society, but also within their own structures? So some of the work that I do is to try and pull together resources that enable churches to address this particular deficit. So there is something called Racial Justice Sunday, which is the second Sunday in February, and I produce resources which enable churches to pray, but also to take action to challenge racism, for them to be anti-racist, as some people would say, in terms of their approaches to tackling inequality within their structures, as well as society. So I do that. Another piece of work that I'm engaged in is I'm the coordinator of the Churches Refugee Network, and the Churches Refugee Network is really working to encourage churches in Britain and Ireland to be more proactive on issues to do with immigration, asylum, and refugees. I mean, that's currently in the news at the moment, not only with in terms of the government sort of seeking to address crossings across the channel, but also issues about the Rwanda scheme. How can churches be a powerful prophetic voice on issues to do with hospitality, sanctuary, and a welcome? How should we, as churches and people, address issues of this nature in our country? So that's some of the work that I do. Clearly, Windrush to me it's about, I always say that, if you look at the church and the Windrush generation, the church has been a real beneficiary of the Windrush generation. Some people talk about London Transport, some other people point to the National Health Service. Well, the Windrush generation helped to revitalize the church. If you were to sort of discount the contribution of the Windrush generation, one could argue that Christianity would be dead in this country. They really have given the church a proverbial shot in the arm. You think of, whether you're talking about the Church of England or the Methodist Church or the Baptist Church or the Catholic Church or the United Reformed Church, or you're talking about Pentecostal congregations, a lot of those churches were major beneficiaries from the Windrush generation. And also, as you well know, as somebody who's connected to the Church of God of Prophecy, as well as the New Testament Church of God, those denominations come directly out of a Windrush experience. So this year they celebrate their 70th anniversary. So you see that, there's almost a synergy and an interconnectedness between Black majority churches, Pentecostal congregations, and Windrush. There's a symbiotic relationship between the two. Hence, when it comes to marking this significant anniversary, the churches really should be, and I think they are, recognizing the importance of the anniversary and seeking to celebrate all that is connected to it in some very imaginative and creative ways.
Excellent, excellent. So can you tell us a bit about CTBI's role now in the celebrations coming up in June?
Yeah. So CTBI, we're very much a sort of we love partnerships. I always say that, a partnership is our watchword. So we're working with colleagues connected to the Baptist Union, the Church of England, the Methodist Church, churches together in England, the Evangelical Alliance, on a service to mark or to celebrate the Windrush anniversary, and we're looking to do that on the 22nd of June at Southwark Cathedral. So that's, you know, for those of you who live in London, it's, you know, South London, it's between London Bridge and Borough, a lovely cathedral, right in the heart of South London. And again, you know, the reason why we're there is because we feel that, you know, that there is some kind of, you know, there's a connection, a historical connection between that particular part of London and the Windrush generation, you know, particularly that group of Caribbean settlers. A lot of them ended up living in South West London, whether you're talking about Brixton or Balham or Battersea, it's in that general vicinity. And that's where Southwark Cathedral is. So we're working together to host a service that clearly is an offering from the church to communities. And it will enable us to do three things. So the first thing we're looking to do is to remember the struggle. You know, I mentioned the fact that, you know, when my mom came here, my dad came here, and that whole generation of people came here, you know, it wasn't a bed of roses. You know, the welcome that they received, my mum received in January was as cold as the weather. You know, so nobody rolled out the red carpet for them. And they faced racism in, whether you're talking about jobs, in housing, in terms of, you know, public sector, public policy issues, and they had to struggle. You know, it was a struggle. They had to fight. In some instances, they literally had to fight because, you know, had issues of with teddy boys and racist folks who really took exception to their presence in this country. So it's important for us to recognize the fact that it was a struggle. But also the other thing we want to do, and that's the second point, is to celebrate that contribution that they've made to this country. And it's incalculable. You know, you can't, it's hard to sort of almost, you know, quantify, you know, the contribution that they've made to this country. This country is the country that it is because of that particular generation. And it, you know, whether you're talking about politics or you're talking about business, or you're talking about music, or you're talking about culture, or you're talking about sports, or you're talking about equality law, or education, right across the piece, you know, that generation were there. And, you know, when I particularly think of, you know, the kinds of equalities, you know, the sort of race equality and equality right across a piece, you know, laws that, you know, politicians in particular like to talk about, say, you know, Britain is one of the fairest, most equal societies in the world. Well, the fact is, you know, that it's only like that because people fought for it, you know, and had to fight long and hard for it, you know, and that was a Windrush generation. It's not as if people, you know, the average Briton, and particularly the politicians, said, you know, the way we're treating this Windrush generation is appalling, you know, let's pass laws. No, people had to demand, you know, had to literally fight for change. And I think we need to recognize and celebrate that contribution, that, you know, where we are today, people like yourself, Rudy, myself, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, you know, individuals who were trailblazers, who were pioneers. And we, you know, this anniversary really is an opportunity for us to look and to say, well, from a Christian perspective, say thank God for these individuals. You know, this country is far from perfect. You know, it's racism is still here, inequality still exists. There's a lack of respect for Black and brown and minority ethnic people in this country. But, you know, we are where we are because of that particular generation, and we need to recognize that, and we need to celebrate that. You know, any positives that we sort of take from the situation that we face, it's a result of the hard work, the sterling efforts of these particular individuals. And then the final thing we're looking to do at the service is to say it's about flourishing for the future, you know, and it sort of picks up on those terms that you sort of mentioned, Rudy, in your introduction. But particularly, we want to sort of focus on the younger generation, you know, the generation who are coming up, and we want them to be very familiar with this particular story. And it's again about them recognizing that they are standing on the shoulders of giants, for them to actually have aspirations, but be in a position where they can actually realize their dreams. How can we encourage that generation to flourish, to really sort of take advantage of you know, the opportunities that they now face as a result of the hard work of a Windrush generation, so that they flourish for the future. And in flourishing, they remember where they come from, they remember their roots, they recognize that there was a generation of people who came to this country with hopes and dreams, and some of those dreams were realized. And it's a story that is a story of it's a success story. Yeah. But it's not without its challenges, you know, and it's not without its sadness. So it's not, you know, folks seeing things through rose-tinted lenses. Yeah. You know, it's about people being honest, but it's a story about, you know, the fact that we are here to talk about it tells us that there is clearly a success related dimension to that. And I think connected to the service is a walk of witness that we would like to sort of do as well. And again, one of the plan really is to start from Waterloo Station, where there is the Windrush Memorial that was unveiled on Windrush Day last year. And it's a walk that would involve, we're hoping, around about 75 people who, again, 75 being the anniversary, individuals for whom Windrush clearly resonates. It should, again, be an intergenerational walk. And the thinking is they would then leave Waterloo Station, well, gather around the monument first, and then from there make their way to Southwark Cathedral. Then we would have the service. And, you know, one of the things we're looking to do, and we've spoken about this, haven't we, Rudy, is to try and have the replica anchor available in the service, so that, you know, we kind of clearly make, you know, that sort of connection between Windrush and the service. And, you know, from a church perspective, you know, an anchor has a religious symbolism. You know, people connect Jesus with the anchor, this sense of, you know, Jesus is our anchor. And, you know, there's a famous hymn, will your anchor hold in the storm of life? We have keeps the soul. So, you know, it all sort of connects. There's all a sort of a resonance really with what we're seeking to do. But like I say, it's CTBI working in partnership with churches and parachurch organizations and Christians to put on a service that is an offering to the community, the Black community in particular, that does justice to this particular history. You know, it's not selling anybody short. It's not telling people a mythological story. Hopefully it will be a story that is truthful, that is honest, it's candid, but it is multidimensional. You know, as I said, it's about remembering the struggle, celebrating the contributions, and flourishing for the future.
Right, and of course there'll be a floral wreath.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think, you know, one of the things we want to do during the course of that walk of witness, hopefully, would be for an intergenerational family. So that would be a grandparent, a parent, and a child, to walk with a floral wreath in the shape of an anchor, which again we would want to sort of then at the end of a walk take into the church and leave it in a prominent place within the cathedral, again to make connections between, a journey, a sea journey from the Caribbean to this country some 75 years ago. That in a way changed the course of history. Yeah. And again, you know, the journey is an opportunity for people to talk and to share, to reminisce, but also to strategize as well, and to say, well, you know, what does this significant anniversary mean to us as British people at this particular juncture in our history?
Excellent. So, Richard, just before we go then, if people want to get involved, how do they get involved?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of churches together in Britain and Ireland, the best way is to actually go to our website, which is www.ctbi.org.uk, or just Google churches together in Britain and Ireland, and you will get hold of us. Like I said, you know, the service is something that we're planning in partnership with Christians.
Is that open to the public? Is that open to the public? Is that open?
It will be, yes, it will be. It will be, but you know, we're working with Southwark Cathedral on that. So you know, it's not a closed service. It's open to the public. Again, we're looking at how can we best ensure that, you know, those who want to attend can attend, but also, you know, by the wonders of sort of this type of Zoom related technology, you know, not everybody will be able to attend, but, you know, we're looking at ways in which we can use social media, for instance, to broadcast the service for those who, for whatever reason, can't attend. We want it to be significant for everyone.
That access is important, because we've got to think of our families who are back in the Caribbean and of course in all parts of the world, and they will be thinking about this occasion, because many of them would have grown up here or came back here, you know, so that linkage is still important, isn't it, through families and friends?
Oh yeah, definitely. But also, you know, you've got you know, Caribbean folk living in Scotland and Wales and Ireland and all over, and perhaps, you know, they're not in a position to travel to London. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't want to be able to participate in some capacity in a service that takes place, you know, to hear hopefully some wonderful sermons, you know, some wonderful gospel singing, and some, you know, the symbolic activities that will be taking place. You know, so, you know, again, we're working with the cathedral, working with church partners to ensure that, you know, we have a service that is poignant, that is powerful, that captures the moment, but also takes its place alongside the myriad other activities that will be happening at that point, whether it's on that day or around that time, to celebrate this specific, singularly important anniversary.
Right. And so I can just say thank you very much, Richard. That's been comprehensive.
Well, listen, Fang, it's been a pleasure to be here to join you. You know, it's an exciting time, you know, and you know, it's great to see that, you know, the Black community in particular, the community that, you know, see Windrush as being part of their history and heritage, is really kind of seizing the time, seizing the moment to organize events and activities that really tell the people of this country that there was a people who came to these shores, who faced a whole range of challenges, but, you know, for them those challenges weren't unsurmountable. You know, they addressed them head on, and they're around, some of them, to still tell their stories. And if they're not, then it's incumbent on people like yourself, Rudy, and even people like me, to tell the stories for them, and to ensure that the next generation hear those stories and can tell them and continue to tell them, because as we all know, Britain is the country it is today because of the Windrush generation. So all the great things that people talk about this country and say it's fantastic for this and this, well, you know, it's a Windrush generation often that we have to thank for it.
Yeah, and that level of recognition is really down to us to ensure, you know, and that definitely spiritual fortitude that the generations have shown for us.
Yes.
Yeah, so the baton is in our hand, And I like
Yep.
the approach that you're taking, because, you know, the point about flourishing for the future is about passing the baton on to the third and fourth generations that we now have growing up here in the UK. So great. Thank you very much, Richard, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good
Okay.
night, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.